Good morning. Here we are for part 2 of getting prepared for the growing season and other things. It's the other things that are fun because you never know what's going to happen. I have a few little notes. I had to make a couple notes because I have 2 new plants because I had the passion flower and Jack had gone to all the trouble to make this beautiful frame because I didn't have any more of those from the dollar store, which would have been perfect. And I had a passion flower. Now I had 3 little seeds a neighbor gave me, and I gave 2 to Rosemary, and they're huge, they're bigger than me, they're growing like crazy, and she lives in Kamloops, and she'll be putting them outside this summer. But mine died. Jack went to look in there, and there was bugs in the dirt, so outside it went, and it's still out there, and I don't know. So that meant I had this beautiful pot, which of course was a garage sale find that I fell in love with, and Jack had made that beautiful frame. Now, the frame does lift out of the pot because you have to consider that you're going to want to repot this. And I want to show you what I've done. Now, I didn't know anything about the Chinese money plant, but online I saw this. He's called Crazy Plant Guy. Oh my goodness. He had one plant the size of my new one. It just grew, so I thought, well, it'll be perfect. It'll have a little support, and I can take this out of here when I repot. So the pot and this will come out, so that's a good thing. And in the bottom, there's no drain holes in this pot. So in the bottom, I have a brick that the pot's sitting on right now. And I do this. You do not want water your plant, whether it's an orchid or another plant, sitting in water. So that's to make sure it drains. And if the water is sitting in the bottom of the pot, it will actually allow a little humidity as it evaporates. So that's a good thing. But don't let that sit for years and years. It could get stinky. So you do have to make sure it's rinsed out once in a while. So we don't have a lot of choice in plants here, but we were at Canadian Tire, and they have a few house plants there. So I bought 2, and this I can water like I do all my plants. I only water my house plants on orchid watering day, or if I run out of time, I'll do the orchids and do the house plants the next day. So I did like it, and if you look at his video, they keep growing up. I mean, do you have one? I am a plantaholic. I think it's been because we've been shut in the house so long, and they're comforting. You know, I can be in my kitchen and I feel like I'm in this beautiful tropical forest. So anyway, I got a money plant, Chinese money plant, and they're supposed to be easy to care for. They like bright light, like our phalaenopsis, but they don't want direct hot sun on their leaves. He rotated his so that they bend one way or another, and they get little babies and they get thicker. So I've put it in this plant. So that's my first new addition. So we'll put him in there. Now, the other one was, try and find the names out of these things, but I did look, and I think it's a peperonia. And so it's not going to grow real high, but it's going to grow bushy. And there was no, you know what the title of the name of this was? A foliage plant. But I like the leaves because they're variegated, and I like the thickness. The thickness tells you that they can take drying out a little bit better than the thinner leaf plants. So I have that over here. It doesn't, and it also sits on a brick in a pot. Now, most of my other orchids here, like my fells, they're sitting with a dish with water, but I have something that's holding them higher above that water. So they're getting humidity from the dish, but they're not sitting in water. And I do that many different ways. Just a minute. I did fill this dish out this morning, and it's going down in Maggie's little bed. I think I missed the dish. There. Okay, so that was my 2 new additions, and I guess with my 2 new windows, it feels more spacious in here. Although the floor space isn't, but it feels more spacious. So here we are in the 3rd garden window in my kitchen dining room. So the orchids love this. This is the west side. And your orchids can take your phalaenopsis, and I'm not a professional on most ID orchids. I'm learning. I have some. I'm still learning. But the fells I've had for over 15 years, and it's just what I found really works for this dry humidity in the winter in our homes, seldom over 40%. Now if it rains outside, 38 it's saying. That's why I keep dishes, you know, pebble dishes. I seen a beautiful orchid grower who had a setup where he had a big tray that fit inside where he kept his window where his orchids, and he just had them all sitting on something over this pebble, because you are getting that evaporation. But I do have my humidifiers, but even though I do, it's still very difficult because it comes out into the room, where it's doing us good too, so our sinuses don't dry out and you get more colds, you get more sinus infections and all that kind of stuff. So it helps us too. So we have them going, and no, I never get mildew because it doesn't dry up enough. Sometimes people want to say, oh, do you get mildew from, no, not here, because if it gets humid and I'm watching my gauge, like if I actually see it at 50 or 60, I'd be very happy. Sometimes when they're out in the patio, because they're not in this winter heat, that will happen. But here, no, it's not happening. So, but they're happy. They're very happy. And, oh, they're just growing. They don't seem to mind. They're living dry in bark, and they just are so happy. And let me get this one down. Okay. Look at this one. Now the leaves, they're nice and firm, nice firm leaves. And yes, it looks dry because watering day is Wednesday, but look at the flowers on it. And it's got more coming. Yeah. It's so nice. And I've seen them last 4 to 5 months. Never mind this 2 to 3 months. I've seen them really last here. Because there's no bugs pollinating them, and they seem to go on and on and on. So anyway, then while we're here, I want to discuss. Now in the summer or early spring, as we get into the growing season, your west window will be too hot for your orchids. Now I used to just have this blind on the inside where the window part never got shaded, but we did. And so we just added 3 little shelf things to hold a shelf up and a piece of glass, so that in the summer or in the hot days, I don't want that real direct sun on them. I brought them all in. This shelf was such a good idea. But then last year I broke down and bought 3 blinds that fit right against the glass. So now I don't have to move them. I can leave them there until I'm ready to move them. Once I want to move, I can put in the 2 new windows, because that's north. They're never going to get too hot from the sun in those windows, or too much light. I think phalaenopsis love lots of light, indirect light, but they can take lots of light, but just not that hot direct light on them. And then also you find the ones with the bigger, thicker leaves, they're like solar panels. They're gathering energy. And in the growing season, they're gathering all that energy so they will get flower spikes. And they turn it to sugar, and then, I don't know the scientific process, but it's necessary to develop our flowers in the growing season. So the ones with the great big wide leaves, they can be a little further away from the light because they can collect more light. But the ones with the more narrow leaves, they need a little bit more light because they have trouble collecting enough. But there's a nice balance, and then I found they've started to really hold on to their leaves, like the big traffic cones. And why I love the traffic cones, and I'm looking for some more, but it's so hard to find things these days. But because they're plastic, and they're quite a heavy rubbery plastic, they hold humidity in, because I only have bark and it's dry, and I only water once a week. So, but they also have big air holes, so the roots can come out and attach everywhere. And what happens is they feel good because they're attached. Your plant's not going to be happy if it's loose in a pot. You're going to have to put a stake in, some kind of support so that it feels comfortable. And I have found that when they get attached to the pot, they are very happy. We're not, when we have to repot them. But I've learned I'm shaking the bark out. It's nothing that won't shake out, and I'm not removing them anymore. Let me get this one down. Okay. Now my traffic cones have never been anywhere but under a shower, and I mean everything gets watered. Everything except the flowers gets it. So the first thing I do when I put them in the shower, and my shower barely fits me. I mean, we don't have a big shower. But I put them in there, and I first give them just straight water right from the tap. I give them straight water, and then I have a big green, what's that word? A watering can, and whatever my fertilizer is for the day. Now I add a 1/4 of a teaspoon of my CalMag, and the recipe's in the water schedule. A 1/4 of a teaspoon to a gallon of CalMag, and my sinks take about 4 gallons, so I'm putting about a teaspoon of CalMag first every watering day, except clear watering day. They just get a flush, or you could add it if you wanted, but I just do the flush now. And what I did find, because I bought this big bulk CalMag, what I did find is this was a little better quality soap dish, because I usually use the cheap ones. But look at the nice lid. That lid is so nice. And it is so easy to put a 1/4 teaspoon in with this than trying to pour. This works great. I've got it labeled so nothing ever gets mixed up. And then I have on the seaweed extract, I have the West Coast seaweed extract, but it doesn't matter what kind it is. That's just what this one is. And I always shake it. And all my stuff, so it's not difficult, is a 1/4 teaspoon to a gallon. It isn't difficult. So on the week that they get this, 1 week they get Epsom salt, 1 week they get seaweed extract. It's a nice blend, and only 2 weeks out of 6 do they get fertilizer. Now, I'm not changing to my higher nitrogen, and I'm going to show you. When I first started with orchids, this is what I used, plant prod. Now, there is urea in this. It never bothered them. It's what I used first. I put little notes on there. That was for my cymbidium, because in the summer, now this is high nitrogens for the growing season, and I use it for everything but the dendrobiums. Now the dendrobiums, you could use it for the first part of the growing season, and then I just go to a balanced fertilizer because you'll get cakeys if you don't. So that's my opinion. Not, I've done well with my 2, but that's what I do, and I'm not going to say it's the best thing because I'm new at dendrobiums, but I started with the plant prod, and then I went to the Schultz, and this is their high nitrogen one. So I use that. I also have some, I really don't, as long as it's an orchid fertilizer, and the plant prod it does have an orchid mix on it and pictures. I don't think it matters too much. You can try different fertilizers, but whatever ones you think work. And it's your experience. So I have Schultz, and this is 1931-17. This is what I'm using now, because it has the high middle number, and it's only used on the 2 of 6 weeks, 2 weeks. 1 watering twice in 6 weeks with fertilizer is what it's getting. So this is the one I've been using. And then just for fun, once in a while, I don't know if you remember the Russian fellow that had this Phalaenopsis valentine, I think it was called. It was a breed, and it is called Valentine Phalaenopsis, but it kept getting basil keikes, and it's huge and has all these flowers. And I did order his fertilizer that he uses. It wouldn't last long if I used it all the time. It's liquid. And but I shake it up good once in a while. If I have one that I think is limping along, I do use this. Is it helping? Some, maybe. I don't know. So, and then black tea bags on the black tea bag day. So, while we're at this window and before we move to the next one, I also want to show you what I keep in this little grad cellophane. It's so cute. And in there, we were at Nico's. Now, Nico's is a garden store here, and they should be really good, but years ago I bought a Phalaenopsis there, and I forget what video it was. And I wasn't too in the know. It had a great big brown spot on one leaf. It was massive in other ways. They shouldn't have been selling it. It was fungus, and it started to go all through the plant. I ended up having to get rid of that plant. I saw bad things down even in the roots, and it's a shame. Ever since I never go there. They usually have about 7 phals on a back table. I don't think they sell too fast, but I'm just saying that. Anyway, we were there, and they have pond supplies and outdoor fountains and garden plants and things that you can put in. And we found these cute little things marked down for $1. And you get one of these, and then you get a plug-in that goes on your plug-in. You put it in your plug-in, and you can plug your other things into it, and then I just push on or off. I don't have to hit any switches, but if I push off, they go off, and if I push on, they go on, and so do the ones in the other room. So this operates this room and that room, and it was only $1 on sale. But you can buy them online. I forget exactly what they're called, but they're definitely a control switch. So, I was going to show you up close how many leaves we've got and roots. It's just happy. Now this is the one, I upset it because when it needed repotted, I put it in the bathtub. And I took all it off, and then I got all the roots that were stuck just like these ones. That's how fast these have grew back. But they were stuck just like these. I unstuck them, I took it out, and I ended up repotting it, and it didn't like it. It did not like it. I won't ever do it again. I'll just, when it needs repotted, I'll shake. It set it back. It even got a couple smaller leaves where the leaves were getting bigger for a while. But now it has 2, 4, 6, 8 leaves on the new one coming. And it's just, I found it does something. They know when they're attached, and that's what they want to do in the forest, hanging in the trees. So, and this isn't media all the way down. It's only about halfway down. So it's, I guess, a large pot. So, let me put that back. There we go. So, I found that they don't like to be disturbed. If they're attached, that's because they want to be attached. And I love aerial roots. And it's nice to have a pot where they can grow down. I pick up these big saucers to sit them on so they don't drip. And you can get beautiful ones in secondhand stores now. Crystal even for $4. And so they stop the drips, and you can also put water in them, and water comes up, and they get humidity. So it's time to move to the next room. So I think I covered everything here. I'll just do a little close-up, and then we'll go to the next room. Okay, I have to undo this. There we go. So I am starting to love houseplants. As you see, my ZZ plant a few years ago, I put it in this big urn. It just kept growing and growing. And it's not hard to look after. It doesn't like a lot of water. Gets watered once a week, and not a real drenching either. It just gets but it's happy. They look so healthy, and so I'm happy with my ZZ plant. I think they even come in black now. And so this is the pot this one's sitting in, at least for now. Here's the money tree. I need to add water to the fish. It gets below the mister, it doesn't mist anymore. So I need to add some water. Okay. And Moon Glow. Yeah, these are beautiful. I do like the traffic cones. Of course, this is my oldest orchid and she's perked up. She's got, when you got nice firm leaves like this, and a lot of mine are like that now, especially ones I've had over a year, you know your plant's happy. This one's still adjusting from when I got it, but it'll be fine. It takes time. But the rest, they're hard and firm. So we're going to head to the other room. Oops. And, okay, in here, this is my Hoya, and it's on a tomato cage. You can probably, I've just been winding it round and round. It's worked out really good, or those dollar store ones would also work good. And then when I see something sticking up like this, and it also gets whatever my orchid water is. My water does not go to waste. It's in the sink or in a bucket because it's used on house plants. So, and back here, this one has roots coming and doing what they want to do. Also seem to be getting more leaves on the traffic cones. And the new pot, and as you can see, it sits high above the water, but all the dishes underneath have good water to send up some mist. And these leaves, it didn't hurt them at all, nice and firm. Next year they'll be abundant with blossoms. I had to repot that cactus. It was way down, about 2 inches of cactus stuff, so I had to redo it. It got a little bit of a hair comb in the bottom, and it's happy now. So, and we're getting flowers here. This is last year's Valentine for my daughter. Mother's Day, sorry. Mother's Day for my daughter. So it is adjusting. There you get this small leaf. Never really did good, but the next leaves will come stronger. And this is the one that's a few years old, and it's just, these are some of the original leaves. So there's some right there. That looks like a little scale, and it's kind of dry. I always take them off if I see them. I never wait. It has to be done. So we got, you know, good healthy leaves, and you want like 2 leaves and then a spike. And then there's the old spike, and they continue down like that. Now as your plant gets older, you might start getting them on both sides and branching too. Like this one in the back, it does have a branch here, and it looks like it might be getting another one here. And this one, I think it is also sending out a branch, so it's happy in there. And this is dry. You see, I don't worry when I see dry. This feels dry. It is dry, but they're okay. And our humidity is only 40%. Now here I have, it's called a Lavoie. Now this one's good because you fill it up, easy to keep clean, and it's shooting straight up. Now in the bedroom we have one that shoots out, and it was shooting on leaves, and I didn't like that. I like this one that goes up, because then the mist will fall back down in the air, because the one that was shooting out, if it shoots on leaves, it leaves them all wet. So, so this planter seems to be doing good, and I like it. I like them all together in there. Once you get used to, and the plant's used to just bark, and there's some lava rock in here, and charcoal also, but nothing that's going to rot or hold too much water. They can always drain. That's all they need to do. And this is the pot. This pot, this was a dollar store, hard plastic little traffic cone, not the same as the rubbery ones, and did not hold the paint. And I've been wanting to repot it, but it's happy. And I don't have the heart, even though I want to, because look, its roots are stuck. So even though it's kind of a messy looking pot, I do not have the heart. So one day, one day it'll get repotted when it needs it, but it's fine. We can look down in there and it's fine. So even though once they're adjusted, they are happy. They're very happy. So some are newer and they're just getting used to it. So, and then while we're here, we'll turn over around here, because the only other house plant I have is my bamboo. And I've had this year. So years back, I got it at a garage sale, and I got it. They had this in it, and they had a silver, beautiful friendship necklace, tree of life, beautiful. And I wear it all the time. And they had wrapped it around there, and all their plants were free. And they said, just take it. And I've had it all these years. It gets tap water. It gets water, whatever my orchids are. And it's just been doing good. Every once in a while I go down and I may pick out some that don't look good, but there's always new ones coming up. And it's just sitting in a big pot and on something. So I do that a lot. Like, let's go look at the Hoya. Now this Hoya, this is a pot with no drainage hole. And this terracotta pot only comes down to about halfway. So it's never sitting in water. And when I water, if it goes through, and once in a while I lift it up and check and clean in there and put it back. So there we are. And thanks for joining me. And any questions, please email me at carolynorchidfriends@gmail.com. So I'll be glad to help you, or put your photo into the community channel for others to help you. So thanks for visiting, and bye for now.